Week 4.
Welcome to another Reflect video exploring the Beatitudes. My name is Reiley, and I am the Pastoral Intern here at Parliament Community Church. Today, we'll be exploring Matthew 5:6, which states, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled." Now, as we dive straight into this passage, we need to ask the question, what does it look like to hunger and thirst for righteousness? Now, what is interesting about the original Greek used in this passage is that the term righteousness here is actually talking more about justice rather than personal righteousness or personal goodness, which is what I think of when I hear righteousness. This means that we can actually change our question to, what does it look like to hunger and thirst for justice? The next thing we need to look at is, what does it mean to hunger and thirst? Jesus could have simplified this beatitude by saying, "Blessed are those who seek justice, for they will receive it." But I think he used the imagery of hungering and thirsting for a reason. Have you ever been hungry? So hungry that you couldn't go on without food? What about thirsty? I know playing sports in the heat, I certainly have. You know, when humans get hungry or thirsty, it's not just that we begin to seek or want water or food, it's that we need it. We begin to feel as though we cannot go any further without acquiring what we need, as both food and water are essential to life. In the same way, blessed are those who could not go any further without justice, for they will receive it. Now, as we look a bit deeper into exactly what Jesus is saying here, it's now time to look at what exactly it looks like to follow this. Jesus says that those who hunger and thirst for righteousness are blessed because their need for righteousness will be filled. But now, how will this hunger for righteousness be satisfied? I think that this promise is actually twofold. On the one hand, this is a promise that those who need justice will receive it when Christ returns. In those days, Jesus will bring justice and judgment, which will give to those with hunger that which they need. On the other hand, there's an aspect of righteousness that can be done now. God is still doing this work here and now, as the psalmist says in Psalm 107, 8-9. "Let them give thanks to the Lord for his unfailing love and for his wonderful deeds for mankind. For he satisfies the thirsty and fills the hungry with good things." God does this in part by simply giving what is needed to those who are needy, but he also does this through the use of his people. A major part of God's commands, both to the Israelites in the Old Testament, but then also reiterated to us in the New Testament, is to care for the poor and needy. Deuteronomy 24, 17-18 says, "Do not deprive the foreigner or the fatherless of justice, or take the cloak of the widow as a pledge. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you from there." That is why I command you to do this. The foreigner, fatherless, and widows were the three most needy in the Old Testament context because they had absolutely no support system to fall back on. God calls his people to support these people who are in need and give them the justice they thirst for. Not only that, but God's reason for why they must do this is because of the goodness that he showed the Israelites by bringing them out of Egypt. I had a professor who once said about this passage, "Because we have received grace, we dare not ignore God's will that we extend grace to others as well." So, that is my challenge for you. Although much of the fulfillment of this blessing is done solely by God and is yet to come, remember now the righteousness and justice that you have received from God, and out of the outpouring of his goodness to you, give to the poor and needy all around you the righteousness they hunger for. Thank you for joining us today in exploring Matthew 5:6. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Our next video exploring the Beatitudes will be looking at Matthew 5:7. Blessed are those who are merciful. I hope you can join us then. Thanks for watching.